Taiwan is an awesome place and I'm happy to go to this place every now and then to meet my family-in-law. In this video we'll be traveling along the entire length of the Taiwanese high-speed railway system as it is at this moment in 2025. There are some great improvements on its way, not only in the network but also in new rolling stock. And there are some things that make it way easier for you to know if you're traveling around Taiwan by train. Join us as we travel along the entire length of the Taiwanese high-speed railway line. Well, it's not even that long actually, 350 kilometers more or less. It will be extended soon, but for now I'll tell you all about this in the video. Let's get this video on the track and let's roll the intro. Before we dive into all of this, let's have a look on the route map for the Taiwan High Speed Railway system. The system consists of 12 stations serving over a length of around 350 kilometers. 3 of these stations are in Taipei and New Taipei City, and basically all trains do call there. However, you can divide the system in a north and a south section, and there are some trains that will only serve the northern part or only the southern part. What all trains do have in common, every single train at the Taiwan High Speed Railway network is serving the railway station of Taichung. Therefore, this is the heart of the Taiwan High Speed Railway system. The fastest services along the Taiwan High Speed Railway system will serve the 3 Taipei main station, Tiachung, and then Zuyang, what is basically outskirts of Kaohsiung, what is the second largest city of Taiwan. Anyway, within this video I thought it would make a whole lot of sense to feature Tiachung railway station, simply because this is the main hub for the high-speed trains. And what is the case over here, and not only here in Kaohsiung but in many other cities actually, is that the railway station for the high-speed trains is not the same as for the conventional trains. This can be very confusing though, and especially because the railway station for the conventional trains that is right next to the railway station for the high-speed trains has a different name. I mean, maybe I'm talking from a European perspective and then especially Western Europe, but in France for example, the high-speed railway stations that do sometimes have the same name do pretty often have the name TGV attached to it. Anyway, in Taiwan you need to pay attention for this, because having a railway station with the specific town name doesn't always have to mean that it is also in the same town, at least for the high-speed trains. For the conventional trains, this is a different story. When I recorded this video, by the way, it was in June. Let me tell you one thing, it was hot out here. I mean, I know temperatures can be very different from northwestern Europe where I'm from, but normally when I'm in Taiwan, I visited here in the winter time. That's also a great way to save some energy, because we don't have to use the air conditioning in Taiwan in the winter time. And if we leave home, we don't have to heat up our house in the Netherlands. This here is the railway station of Tiachung. The first railway station here started operating in 1908 and was already demolished by 1917 and was replaced with this red brick building you can see here on the right. And in December 2016, the new railway station here on the left, that's also elevated, opened its doors. This is a really modern railway station and it has basically all the facilities you might expect. There are quite some buses from and to this railway station. However, the metro of Taichung is not serving this railway station. The metro is serving the high-speed railway station though, and some smaller railway stations for the conventional trains. I'll get back to that a little bit later on. At the moment the conventional trains were being built in Taiwan, that's more than 100 years ago, the railway lines were basically running through the towns at central spots. The high-speed railway system though, this only started operating in 2007. Therefore, there was not always space to build the high-speed railway lines in the city center, so this is why it's basically at many places at the outskirts of the city. But at the points where you find these stations for the high-speed trains, there's a lot of development. This is a network map for the intercity trains within Taiwan, so intercity transportation. And the pink line over here is the high-speed line. As you can see, this is a much more straight line than the other lines. Taichung also had a massive population growth. In 1950, the metropolitan area had a population of less than 235,000 people, where at this very moment the population is almost 1.4 million. What is a kind of a huge city. What I already mentioned, the railway system for the conventional trains and the high-speed trains in Taiwan are two totally separated systems. High-speed trains are not able to operate on conventional railway lines simply because the width of the tracks is different. The high-speed trains, a little geek side note, also most metro systems in Taiwan, are using the standard gauge tracks, where conventional trains will use narrow gauge tracks that are 1067 mm wide. The width of the tracks is, by the way, very different per system. You can't talk of general narrow gauge or general wide gauge tracks. And even though you find systems where you have different track gauges, so the different width of the tracks, and where you find trains that can operate along these different track gauges, within Taiwan, these are just two totally separated systems. Little geek side note, over here, you see a Stadler locomotive coming in. Well, I won't dig in that too much, but this is the only European locomotive you will find in Taiwan. It wouldn't have made a big difference, or the entire high-speed railway system was being totally operated with European techniques, both the infrastructure and also the trains. But now the high-speed railway system in Taiwan is totally Japanese built, both the infrastructure and the trains. And for the conventional trains, there's a lot of Japanese influence when it comes to this, because the railway lines were being built when Taiwan was a part of Japan. Also, a lot of the rolling stock has been built in Japan, even though the regional train that took us to the railway station for the high-speed trains has been built in Korea. As we are getting closer to the railway station for the high-speed trains, we can also see the railroad line for the metro of Taichung, what is elevated at this part of the route at least. The travel time from their main railway station for the conventional trains of Taichung to the railway station for the high-speed trains, what is Wuri Railway Station, is depending on the train you take between 7 and 13 minutes, where most regional trains do need 11 or 12 minutes. You can easily travel on board of these trains with the use of an easy card, what is a smart card for public transportation. But not only that, you can also pay in many shops with your easy card. And as a matter of fact, at the house where my parents-in-law do live, we can open the main door for the apartment building with our easy card. It's personal in that situation, of course, even though easy cards are in general not personalized. What I do have to mention though, because many high-speed railway stations are not always within the city center, and the conventional trains are, I in general like conventional trains maybe a bit more in Taiwan, because you basically travel from city center to city center. And yes, it takes more time, but the routes are in general also more scenic, because the high-speed train is in a lot of tunnels. Anyway, right now we are at the railway station of Wuri, what is mainly being served by regional trains for the conventional trains here in Taiwan, what is the TRA. Conventional trains in Taiwan are really affordable, and especially if you're traveling with regional trains. The railway station over here is not that impressive, to be honest. You do find access gates like pretty much everywhere in Taiwan, and if you are, well, in the kind of checked-in area where I'm at right now, there are some waiting areas, some basic shops, but don't expect too much. If we move out towards the main concourse of this railway station, there are a lot of shops over here. Not only shops, but also railway-related services and even car rental companies. And when it comes to this, these are really two railway stations that are merged in a specific way into each other that it's almost impossible to see what railway station you're in. Okay, maybe I exaggerate a little bit. Anyway, there are lots of shops over here. So in that sense, you're all set. And you don't have to get hungry here, because food is everywhere and there's a lot of good food at many places. Something what you see pretty often in Taiwan as well is that there are some merchandises for the railways. This can be for different systems or specific tourist trains. And there are kind of shops for this as well. However, over here you find a shop where everything comes together. I haven't seen this before. I purchased, for example, along this journey a tote bag of the breezy blue train we took. And I could buy that over here as well. And basically all the railway related souvenirs and items, you can find it over here in this shop. For railway geeks, this is definitely the place to go to buy railway related souvenirs. Well, we didn't buy that much over here. Actually, I did buy some souvenirs here in Taiwan though that are railway related, but I didn't purchase them here. I mean, we also took a lot of things back home. Kind of between the conventional railway station and the high-speed railway station, here on the left, you will find the entrance to the metro of Taichung. Also, for those who want to travel by metro, you can do this with the use of an easy card. This works all pretty fine, even though I haven't traveled with this metro system yet. At the moment of recording, it only consists of one line though. However, a second line is under construction, and also extension of the current line is planned, and there are 3 other lines planned as well. So there will be a whole lot more in the future over here. Once again, Taichung as the metropolitan area, it's growing rapidly. And since a metro system has definitely the highest capacity of moving a lot of people in one go, and also therefore the costs per mile in terms of capacity are relatively low, building a metro line is basically the most common thing you can do. Right now we entered the railway station for the high-speed trains. There are 2 departure screens, like basically at all high-speed railway stations, for the northbound trains and for the southbound trains. Also, the railway stations that are being served have been marked crystal clear, because it's not a big system. Information is also very clear. Basically, for the Taiwanese high-speed railway system, and this is really black and white, there's some more details when it comes to this, you'll find 3 types of trains. 1 train in each direction per hour that only serves the bigger railway stations, so the 3 main stations in Taipei, this railway station, and then Zuying, what is near Kaohsiung. Then you find trains that will also serve the medium-sized stations, and then the all-station services. Basically, most Taiwanese high-speed railway stations do meet 4 trains per hour, 2 in each direction, and the smaller railway stations do meet 2 trains per hour, 1 in each direction. And of course, the 5 bigger railway stations do meet more trains, at least 6 trains per hour, 3 in each direction. Let it be no surprise that also at the area in and around the high-speed railway station there is an awful lot of commercial areas as well. Food, souvenirs, you name it, you find it all over here. Also, something typically for Taiwan, and Japan is maybe more known for this, is having bento boxes on the train as well. You can find some bento box places as well, but as far as I noticed, if you book your high-speed railway ticket, you cannot include a bento box yet. However, there is a trolley service available on board of the train as well, and here you can buy a bento as well. Although nothing beats a real dining car for obvious reasons. There are 2 areas where you have to go through the gates and then you're kind of checked in, and these are kind of guarded areas as well. There's a fence around it, although the fence is not very high, but people are just very mannered when it comes to this. In Taiwan it's possible to just have a low fence and people won't jump over this. This is also for many metro systems. I mean, these fences here on the right, I'm wondering if this would work, for example, in bigger cities like New York. Anyway, there are 2 areas where you can go through the gates and go to the platforms. And this is one area for the train cars number 1 to 6 and the other one for the train cars 7 to 12. Within the middle area you find kind of the central hub of this railway station for the high-speed trains. There are lots of vending machines that you find basically all over the station, and in the middle area you will also find the staffed ticket counters. I found out, by the way, that the staff for the Taiwan High Speed Railway system does speak very well English, at least the staff that has contact with passengers. Shout out to them, I think that's really amazing. Also when it comes to signage in general, all the text for all Taiwanese high-speed railway stations and also conventional trains is not only in Mandarin Chinese, but also in English. At the site there's a pick-up and drop-off zone for railway passengers by car, and I also noticed a lot of new development around here. I mean, building these stations at the outskirts of the city also comes with a lot of opportunities for real estate businesses. And this is a true intermodal transport hub. With, of course, the high-speed railway station, the railway station for the conventional trains, and obviously you also find some connecting public transportation, for example on buses. However, this is a rather big bus station, and you won't only find very regional buses but also some longer distance buses. There are plenty of lockers, by the way, at all spots within this railway station. Also, for example, here at the bus station area, and there are plenty of spots where you can take a seat. If you want to leave the station, there are lots of exit numbers, and basically that's also the easiest way to go out, and especially if you meet up with someone, because this place is just huge. So saying to someone, hey, I meet you at exit number 1 or exit number 7, that makes it just way easier for everybody. At the bus station, route information has been given pretty okay, even though my general experience is if you're traveling by bus in Taiwan, that information is a little bit less good than if you're traveling by train. However, I'd love to take this specific bus over here that is heading to Sun Moon Lake. I haven't been there actually. Is it worth visiting? Let me know in the comments. I saw a lot of Taiwan, but Sun Moon Lake, even though it's being very touristic, I haven't been there yet. And the information on these bus timetables at the bus stop is also in English, what is absolutely great. Well, for this journey, I was traveling with the use of a Taiwan Rail Pass. If you're traveling with the use of a Taiwan Rail Pass, you need to give in your passport number and name, and they will check this very carefully. So if you made a typo, just mention this immediately after you made the booking. I'll give a link to a spot where you can buy these passes as well. However, if you just make a small journey along the Taiwanese high-speed railway network, I don't think it's worth to buy a Taiwan high-speed railway pass. I'll get back to that a little bit later on in the video. Right now we are in the kind of checked in area, so if you showed your ticket and you have been through the gates, and over here there are lots of shops as well, even though it's not as much as the other areas. When it comes to the platforms for the high-speed railway system, the platforms are, when you take the great picture, all the same, even though there's one railway station at this very moment where you also find some kind of doors at the platform itself. And that's Taipei Main Station. Simply at Taipei Main Station it's too busy and the platforms are too narrow, so that's needed. But for the rest, you do find screens with information about departing trains, and everything has been mentioned very well in English as well. Also, what car of the train will stop where at the platform has been marked crystal clear, and people are lining up perfectly on the assigned areas. It has also been marked if you're traveling in a reserved car, non-reserved car, or the classes. When it comes to this, it's really extremely well organized, and it's very much like in Japan. Because this is all the same, because the doors of the train need to be at a specific spot at the platform. If there will be new rolling stock, this all needs to have the same requirements. And speaking of which, these are the trains you can find for the Taiwanese high-speed railway system. After every train ride, the trains are being cleaned pretty good actually at the terminal railway stations. And what I personally found truly amazing is that at the moment all the cleaners finish their job, they leave the train at the same time. As if it's a kind of choreographed dance. It's just quite amazing actually. They all leave the train at the same time and we can enter the train. And filming in an empty train is way easier, so I filmed the interior of the train at the railway station Nangang in Taipei. However, before we go inside, let's have a quick look at the exterior, and there's not that much to tell. Basic screens at the sides do host the train number, the destination, and there's a letter right next to all the doors that will indicate the carriage number. Most information will be displayed at the displays at the platform of the railway stations. The top speed for these trains in regular service is 300 km per hour. But this is kind of a standard for high-speed trains actually. What is, once again, for the 5% of the world population that's not using the Metrocross system, 190 miles per hour.
So when the cleaning crew finished, everybody steps out and we can board the train. And everybody stepped at the same moment out of the train. Well, the train is still empty. I think it's the best time to give you a train tour. The biggest part of the train is basically the same. The biggest part of the train is basically the same and it's standard or second class, that's how I want to mention it. It comes in a 2x3 configuration. This is a long distance train. Of course you find space for luggage, like for example here, and we all find luggage racks. And all the seats face the driving direction. What is perfect for some extra space for luggage right behind the last row. Of course, if they turn the seats, this can be used as a table. I'll show you in the next carriage. It's empty now, so I can do it without a voiceover. But if it gets busier, I will switch to a voiceover video. And right now I'm in carriage number 1, and over here there's a vending machine. It's cash only, and there's only drinks are there. Let's review the toilets. This here is the regular toilet. You can also use this the baby diaper changing thing. Well, it's quite soft actually. Sometimes these things are really hard, but this is quite soft. And the toilets, my personal experience is that they're always pretty clean. This is all genders. This is a woman-only toilet. I think it's the same toilet as what I just showed you, yes. And then you find out men's only, what is obviously a urinal. That's when they built these trains originally, they had phone booths. They didn't have we didn't have mobile phones back then, that much as now. Maybe I think they were there already. And the phone booth used to be here. Well, this is a kind of a useless space now. So they also say public telephone is not provided on the train. However, you will find some areas where they use the phone booths as a charging zone for your mobile devices. Because there are no power plugs right next to the seats. I'll show you in a bit. Over here some more litter bins. There are no litter bins near the seats, by the way. This carriage is completely empty, so I can talk a bit more freely. There are no litter bins near the seats. But you find them at the festivals and someone will pass by every now and then to collect waste, what's also really nice. Route information will be displayed at screens at the end of the doors, and this is all in Mandarin and in English, and also all announcements are in Mandarin and English. As you can see, the front row you have these tables, and the seats do have row and then seat numbers of A, B, C, D, E in this situation. And this is basically the same carriage as I showed you earlier on. Let me move on, walk on. Extra space for luggage over here. They also have, by the way, the special goodies shop of the Taiwanese High Speed Rail. The same thing, by the way, for lots of metros here. It's actually quite cool. As a train geek, I've had lots of. What is, by the way, thing? I'm a really tall boy. I need to watch out. When this just fits, if I walk out, it doesn't fit. These doors here, I think they also don't fit well. I need to push the button to open the doors. And here we are again, basically the same layout, although I think there's a little bit more space for luggage over here. Here you find the toilets again, basically the same as what I showed you earlier on. And here you can see they made this into a charging station. So basically they put 110 AC, 3 ampere, and then some USB cables. Also perfect if you forgot to bring a cable with you. I mean, it's a creative way of using the space that would otherwise be a phone booth. And here we are again in the... What you can also do, by the way, if you want to sit opposite from each other, you can also turn these seats. Though I don't know how much they would like it, but in that situation, the amount of leg room is so. So I really wouldn't prefer that. The amount of legroom in these trains is, by the way, insanely good. It's just perfect. Because these trains do come in a 3x2 configuration, it's not that narrow as it might look at first, actually, because the body is a bit wider. We obviously get a bit busier. As you can also see, this is a reserved car. And the non-reserved car has been mentioned especially as well. So I don't have a reservation now, so I will move to the non-reserved car. It's another vending machine here. This is between cars 5 and 6. And here we are in the business class. The capacity in business class is really not high compared to the total capacity of these trains. The price, personally, I don't think it's worth it unless you have a lot of money to spend. But it is nice. These seats are super comfy. I tested them out in the past. Let me quickly do this as well now. By the way, it's also like A, C, D and E. So the B, what is the middle seat, has been skipped over here. It looks a bit old-fashioned, and these are not the newest trains anymore. But let me quickly do a seat review here. I think, I don't know, oh, these are the buttons for the reading lights. And the reading lights are right over here. Okay, let me quickly do a seat review. I don't have a ticket for here. A footrest, what is nice, but I personally never use it. But you find a magazine rack here. You find a table that's actually the same size as in the standard class, but it's okay, and it's just really comfortable. It's really comfortable. Let me recline these seats as well. It's really good. It's not just the space that's more here. You also have a lot of, but there's more surface here. Maybe I'll travel one day in business class, but I will do it for a short section because I think the standard class is pretty good on board of these trains.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, for the rest, but this looks a bit different though. But it's really nice. I'll show you more of the train now. If you're traveling in business class, there's also catering service available. I mean, there's something that will move parts. You see, I don't know exactly what it is, but there is some more service. There is also a trolley service available on board of these trains, and as far as I know, the trolley will be going through the train from the area near the business class. So they will serve people in the train from the area near the business class because there they have the pantry and everything. Right now I'm in carriage number 7. This one is slightly different, and I'll show you why. Because over here you find the disabled passenger area, so the wheelchair area. So basically what's actually really nice now, I just really like it. If you are traveling with someone in a wheelchair, you can sit right next to each other. The downside is though, if you're traveling in a wheelchair, you don't have the window seats. What is a bit of a pity though, but it's still pretty nice. Actually, the extra space here. I think there are more wheelchair spots. Yeah, let's move on before it gets really too busy to film. Here used to be another phone booth, as you can see. Somehow I think this will be extra great space for luggage. But you also need to have some more space here. The doors are a bit wider as well, but you need to have more space for the wheelchairs to go in. Let's move on. Here's a toilet that's occupied, unfortunately. I will try to go back there later on. And there's another unisex toilet. And then we find the rest of the standard class, second class. Let me quickly do a toilet review as soon as it's free, and then I will move on to the rest of the train. So the bigger accessible toilet is free. Let me review this one. I don't need to close. You can close the door like this with a button, and you can lock it like this. Don't forget to lock it. What I like about this toilet, if you're traveling with kids, ta-da! Perfect! And you can also use it to change the diagram, because this is a bigger and also accessible toilets. You also have more support bars for those who need this. For the rest, nothing really special. Power socket for razors. It's also suitable for 220 volts. It says at least. Let me open the door again and show you a bit more of this train. We're moving towards car number 8, and at the moment you move through the train, it has been clearly marked what the car numbers are. You will also see it clearly on the outside, by the way. For more space for luggage. Car number 9 is getting busier. Now we're heading to car number 10. And maybe I'll just wait for the next train to go into car number 10 because it's getting busy now.
And because the same carriage numbers will always be at the same spot at the platform, it's easy to move to the next train.
What is one of the advantages is that the train composition is the same. So car 10 over there got too busy, so I just move here. Oh, this is perfect. Let me show you car number 10 from this one. This is basically the same as the rest of the train I showed you earlier on. But the cars 10, 11 and 12 are non-reserved. So let me show you around. This is it's basically the same, but this is just a non-reserved car. It's a little bit cheaper to travel in here. If you start your railway journey in Nangang or in one of the terminal stations, I think going for the non-reserved car is definitely a good idea because you're the first one to board the train. Other stations, I honestly prefer the reserved car myself. You do find, even though it's not a reserved, you do find priority seats though. So for people who need this, well, they can use this obviously. And you find this in all the carriages in the non-reserved car. 2 rows at the front and 2 rows at the back. Now it's not completely right, you find, well, at least 2 seats, 2 rows at one side and 1 row at the other side. But these are the priority seats over here. Well, they have been marked crystal clear, so don't take them because someone can obviously kick you out. And apart from that, if you see that someone is pregnant or having difficulties by just standing, if it's busy, just give up your seat, obviously, if you're in a good health at least. Now let me do a seat review of the standard class seats, which you find a lot on board of this train. And for this I took the middle seat. What gives you, these seats give you really a generous amount of legroom. Also keep in mind they need to be able to turn the seats around. So this also makes it where you have a lot of legroom actually, and it's really generous. I have to say though, the seats, if you don't recline them a little bit, are really up straight. I'm once again way bigger than average, both in length, unfortunately also a little bit belly, but not way bigger, but just bigger than average. And also I'm wider. If I pull this one, I mean I just fit in. If there will be 3 people of my size sitting here, you might touch each other's shoulders a little bit. Therefore I personally wouldn't have the middle seats, unless I'm traveling with someone I know, of course. But well, there's only a chance, 1 out of 5, that if you're traveling alone, that you will have these middle seats. You find a magazine rack over here with some information, a magazine of the railway companies. And here you find even the shopping guide with all the goodies they sell of the high-speed railway, and that you find the same thing for lots of metro systems here in Taiwan and also for the national rails. These are just like coffee things and so actually. They also have their goodie things. What is really cute actually, and there are some safety information cards as well in the seat in front of you, as you can see over here. Yeah, where's the emergency button, etc. It's all in English and in Mandarin. What's really good, because I don't understand Mandarin that well. I do understand a little bit, but it's very minimal. And let's not talk about reading. The table here is not super big. It's sturdy. It's not the most sturdy again, but work on a laptop here is doable, but not the biggest laptops, to be honest. And what I really think what they're missing out on these trains is there are no power sockets right next to the seats. What's really a pity. Then you will find the window here as well. And what I like about these windows, they have a little table here as well. Or maybe they were also, I think they were part of the George Marshall elbow test. Coat hangers can be found at the sides in all classes, by the way, and you find this also in the business class or first class. And all windows do have a sunscreen. Because these windows are relatively small, you basically only close it for your own row, what is nice. But to be honest, it would also be nice to be able to see a little bit more outside. Something else what is a downside on these trains to me is that there's no power sockets right next to your seats. These trains are not the newest trains anymore, that's also something we should keep in mind. And there will be new trains for the Taiwanese High Speed Railways in, I think, 2 years from now on. They will also be made in Japan based on the N700 Shinkansen series. Wouldn't surprise me if these trains are also based on that. I'll write it down in the description of this video. But for now, I think you have an impression of these trains. And if you want to know more or if you have some questions, let me know in the comments. And let's continue with this video for now. Well, before I show you the views from the train, let's talk about rolling stock and expansion of the network and tickets. New trains have been ordered, and these are the lower trains you can see here. Those trains do start operating from 2027 and do increase the capacity for the high-speed railway network with 25%. What is also needed, because the railway system will be extended in the not too far away future. Let's first talk about the southern extension. That has been approved, and this will be in service approximately from 2029, at least as planned. But you know how these projects are going, this might be 1 or 2 years later. But the speed where they built this with is still pretty amazing. Also, the time between building the Taiwanese high-speed railway system and launching the first services is truly amazing. The entire system has been built within 5 years. And the quality of the tracks and everything is good. Anyway, the southern part will be extended with approximately another 30 kilometers, also serving the main railway station of Tiachung. And it will continue towards Pingtung, if I pronounce everything right at least. Then at the northern part, there's a much more interesting extension going on if you ask me. That is around 60 kilometers, a little bit less, towards Ilan. For this, let's take a close look at the railway map for all trains in Taiwan, and let's zoom in to the northern section of Taiwan. And as you can see, this is not really in a straight line. A new highway has been built in a tunnel, and that's kind of in a straight line. However, you know, highways can only take a certain amount of passengers, and especially if everybody driving in a car. It's not very efficient, and therefore there's quite some congestion on the road over there as well. And if you travel by train, what is by the way a truly amazing train journey from Taipei to Ilan, because Taiwan is just freaking amazing when it comes to scenery. It's really a pleasure, but it takes quite a long time, to be honest, compared to the distance. The journey time with conventional trains along this route, at this very moment, is for the fastest train 1 hour and 8 minutes, but in general you should count around 2 hours. Even though there are also upgrades on the conventional railway line as well that will reduce the travel time. However, the new connection to Ilan, if it's going through at least, will only take 13 minutes from Taipei to Ilan, what is just a big cut in the travel time. However, this comes with a price tag, because a big tunnel must be built under the mountains as well. And once again, to me, taking the conventional trains in Taiwan, and especially on this route and in the east as well, is just a pure pleasure. About train tickets, you obviously have different systems, so I'm only talking about the Taiwanese high-speed railway system. You can buy them via the websites that I link in the description of this video, and I'll do my best to work on some affiliate links to, well, support this channel as well, and maybe I can create some discount codes. Anyway, I will only do this if it's really benefiting my viewers. Of course, I want to make this channel break even, at least pay for itself. I have this channel because out of a passion to show you what it's like to travel on more sustainable ways of transportation. Anyway, for now, let's talk about ticket fares for the Taiwanese high-speed railway trains, and in general, these are fixed ticket prices. However, if you book your tickets a little bit more in advance, you can get some early bird tickets.
These discounts can go up to 60%, but those train tickets are for one specific train only. For other trains, you basically, at least at the moment you book these tickets last minute and you book normal tickets, have 3 types of tickets, or classes, just how you want to mention it. Reserved, non-reserved, what is basically the same kind of carriage you're in, but then you pay a little bit less if you have a non-reserved ticket. And then you will find the business class tickets, that are obviously way pricier, but that also comes with more service. However, if you are not a Taiwanese person, or you have a foreign passport as well, there are some other things that can be very interesting for you as well. And these are the Taiwan Rail passes. On this topic, please, Taiwan Tourist Information Board, listen to me as well when it comes to this. Let me show you the Taiwan Rail passes as they are at this very moment. And to be honest, if I want to go really into depth about this, that deserves another video and I won't do that. However, the 5-day standard joint pass is a nice deal, but honestly, you can only take the very regional trains, and yes, you can take some Chukwang Express trains as well, and these are conventional intercity trains, but you won't find a lot of them anymore nowadays in Taiwan. So for this I only want to talk about the 3-day pass for the high-speed trains only, and the flexible 2-day pass for the high-speed trains only. And the others, well, I just give some basic information that I really think what can be improved. I mean, the longest possible time for these passes is 7 days, with 2 travel days and only on the high-speed trains. Well, I think that's a good option, but to be honest, if you want people to hang around more in Taiwan and also spend their money at different places and not only go to Taipei, once again, Taipei is amazing, don't get me wrong, but there are so many other awesome places in Taiwan. When it comes to nature, Taiwan is just freaking great. But if you want to discover those spots, I think that these passes are not really encouraging people to stay longer. I think it would be great to see some passes where you have a certain amount of travel days within a month. And also, you can't buy these passes if you are having a Taiwanese passport. However, at the moment you do have a foreign passport, you can buy the 3-day pass, and the 3-day pass is actually cheaper if you want to travel up and down the entire network than buying regular tickets. But once again, Taiwan is awesome, and especially along the east of Taiwan, where there are no high-speed trains, you do find awesome train journeys you can make with great views on the mountains and also on the ocean. I really enjoy traveling in Taiwan by train, and especially in the east, what's also less dense populated. And these rail passes, yes, they can be a good deal. I mean, you need to look for yourself, is it worth the money or not? And you cannot buy them for the higher classes. You will only find this on some Zhujiang Express trains and on the high-speed trains though. But to be honest, I really don't think that these rail passes are encouraging people to stay longer in Taiwan. And it's worth staying longer here. Spending about 2 weeks in Taiwan, I think then you can have a good impression of the country, experience all the food, see the cities and also see the nature. Once again, the views from the high-speed train are not that amazing, especially not compared to the conventional trains in Taiwan. And also the views from the train in the west of Taiwan, I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely not the most scenic route you can take by train. And for now I will show you the views I had from the train along the entire network. From Zuying in the south to Nangang in Taipei. Basically the last 3 stations are underground, so it will basically be just before the railway station of Banqiao. Once again, for tickets, use the link in the description of this video, but for now I just really stop talking, so sit back, relax and enjoy the views from the train. And if you want to see real uncut views from the train on both directions and both on the fastest and on the slower train, just check out the Trainviking Passenger POV YouTube channel. I do have both videos there as well.
that's it for this video. I forgot to do the outro at the spot, so I'm doing it right now, just after editing here at home. Including this Taiwan High Speed Railway picture, by the way. Anyway, I hope you liked this video or that it has been helpful to you. If so, please give me a thumbs up on YouTube. I really appreciate that. Questions, feedback, comments, or even if you just want to say hello, feel free to leave a comment. And if you'd like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, the main focus for this channel is long distance and or international traveling, then hit that subscribe button if you haven't done this already. Before we really end up this video, one last thing.
Once again, thank you for watching. Related videos can be found in the description of this video, including the passenger POV videos. There's a separate channel for that. Of course, you can find other videos on this channel, and in the description of this video you also find a link to a map where you can find all videos as well, but then on a map. See you on the next video.